I feel as normal as can be. I feel like if I had to go out there and perform the same way I did my sophomore year and my junior year, being 100% healthy, I mean, I feel like I'd be able to go out there and do that. I'd say I'm 100% right now. I'm just ready to go and play. It's been 4 months too long.
All right, and if you have watched our show over the last few months, you are well aware that Laura is as plugged into this as anyone. And Laura, I feel like this is a change in the conversation. What should we read into the fact? I feel like for months we've been saying, well, you take Tua and you better be ready for him to sit. What should we read from the fact that he is now definitively saying, I'm ready to play?
Yeah, I think there's still a school of thought that says, Greeny, it might be better for Tua and the team that takes him for him to redshirt, because I think injuries aside, that might be best for any rookie quarterback, right? Like the history tells us that. But I think what's changed is they continue to see how the hip is responding well to any type of athletic activity. And that was really the question mark. They've taken this conservative approach all along with him coming back, doing the rehab. It was arduous. He threw from a seated position for months, and finally, about a month ago, was able to get up and do what you're seeing him do right now. And so I think they wanted to wait and see before they went ahead of themselves saying that he could be ready to play. And that's been the case this entire time. Nobody has wanted to put Tua in a bad situation by saying, oh yeah, he's going to be ready to play too soon. That's just not the way that they want to go about this, because at the end of the day, they are concerned with making sure the long-term health is the most important thing here. And everybody, including the doctors, that's the most important thing. The doctors close to this, the doctors who will be communicating with NFL doctors, are saying that they feel very confident in the fact that he'd be ready to play next season.
Okay, so what we are able to see is the video, and we get to hear from people like you who are plugged into it. But the NFL teams are all going to get one more piece of information before the draft itself. What is that, and why is it so important?
Yeah, that's really important, because it's about 8 days away that we will see Tua get this MRI that was supposed to happen at the combine rechecks in Indy. Now, of course, that's not going to be possible. So we'll get that MRI, and then those pictures will be sent via a huge Dropbox file to any team that's interested. And most teams will receive this, I would imagine, or any team that asks for it. Basically, these teams will be able to sit there, their doctors will be able to sit there and hold the pictures in their hands of Tua Tagovailoa's MRI. Now, the point about this MRI, he's already been cleared for all this activity. That's already happened. That's in the past. He's good to go there. But they want to see, is there any sort of cartilage buildup in the hip? Is there anything that's happened to the hip since he's been doing all of this activity? And that's what they'll check for. They don't expect there to be any issues, because he's responding well so far and has not had soreness, as he mentioned in the interview with SportsCenter. And, that's where this all is kind of going to be stopped off from the standpoint of the medical side of it, Greeny, because this is the last time that the doctors will take a picture of that hip before the draft.
All right, we'll see what we can see. Laura, you stay safe, and we'll check in with you again later. Thank you, as always. And so let me get my guys back. Who have I got here? All right, we got RC and Domonique. We got a lot of mixing and matching working today, and here are my guys. All right, RC, I'm coming to you first. You know what we know about Tua, and you've seen him all through his career. I guess I'm going to ask you this question. How confident are you? Are you confident enough, having seen what you've seen in him, that you would be willing to risk everything it would be risking to take him in the top 5 picks of the NFL draft?
You know what? It's so difficult, because one person who I think is kind of benefiting from this offseason is Tua Tagovailoa, that he can put out the narrative that he wants to. Hey, I can do all these things. I could go play the same way I did my sophomore and junior year, because they can't really test you. They can't really see. They won't have you right in front of them. This is what I know. If Tua Tagovailoa doesn't hurt his hip, I take him before Joe Burrow. And we all know how I feel about Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow had the greatest college season I've ever seen of any quarterback that's played this game. But I still would take Tua Tagovailoa #1 overall before Joe Burrow if he doesn't have the hip situation. If I could be sure that he would be 100% at the start of this season and could be my starting quarterback, I would go with him. From the first time we saw this young man, he was excellent. And even with battling through the injuries, having some unfortunate situations happen to him physically, he still excelled. And I believe coming into this year, he was going to be the first quarterback taken. And without going down late in the season, he still would have been. So there's going to be a team that if they get these pictures and they see no degenerative issues, that's going to say, you know what, in the top 5, he's worth it to me.
I want to pin you down on that a little bit if I can, because I feel like there is a little bit of a thought that in some of the biggest games against some of the best teams, Tua wasn't great, that he wasn't great in the SEC championship game 2 years ago against Georgia and got bailed out at the end. That there were other circumstances against top-level competition when he was healthy in which he wasn't great. Is that not a concern to you?
It's not a concern. I mean, you can go back to the Georgia game. I think even more, we go to the national championship versus Clemson. And this was a hobbled Tua Tagovailoa. And if you're going to say to yourself, you know what, we expect him to have to play injured in this manner a lot because of some of the durability issues, then I think those things matter. Now, listen, I watched Justin Herbert up close against Arizona State University this year, and I wasn't necessarily impressed. Are we going to use that to knock him? Because if you look at the difference in the competition, the difference in health, the health situations of those two people, we've seen bad games. For 9 games of his junior year of Joe Burrow at LSU, he was underwhelming, wasn't even completing over 50% of his passes. And so if you're going to hold the big game things against Tua Tagovailoa, in which most of those situations he was injured as well, then you have to compare them to his peers. And compared to his peers, his total body of work game for game is better than the other two guys you're looking at. So it's really going to come down to how healthy is he, how durable you think he can be, and where you should select him, what you're willing to risk for the higher reward my homeboy Dom was talking about a little bit earlier.
All right, that's fair. So Domonique, let's pick it up with risk. Which would concern you more if you were the person putting your job and your reputation on the line here? The risk of taking him and he gets hurt, or the risk of passing on him and he really is Drew Brees?
Yeah, I think the risk of passing on him would scare me more, especially if we use the number that you just put out at number 5. For the Dolphins, they have 3 first-round picks. I think they definitely should expend it right there on Joe Burrow.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.